All right, so we got a question through Instagram from Joe Grubmigna, who asks, what do you think of the possibility that we might live in a computer simulation? What is physical reality's relation to the seeming virtual reality of technology?
Okay, so I think that this conversation starts with AI, I suppose, right? It starts with the idea that, because like the whole simulation theory is kind of centered around how, as neuroscience is developing, and we as a collective society are trying to place consciousness, whether it's like in the body or in the ether or whatever, like how much an artificial intelligence could resemble a human intelligence, and is that intelligence, human, or is it equivalent to human, or is it, morally obligated to being seen as like having personhood or something like that? And if we do accept that, then what can we say about our own minds, and what's the possibility that our reality can be reduced in such a way that is similar to a computer simulation for some sort of other higher entity?
So that's on the inner level, and on the outer, it's like, why is your reality any more real than a virtual reality simulation?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you know that your reality is not some sort of virtual reality simulation with some other reality existing outside of it?
Mm-hmm.
But who cares? Like, why does it? It's the only thing that Like, you can't take that off right now. And what's the difference? But like, I've always thought about that. What are those little there's a South Park episode of there's the little sea people that you can create little
sea
worlds.
monkeys or whatever.
Sea monkeys.
Sea
Yeah.
monkeys.
I always think about that, right? Where they create these sea monkeys, and somebody they're like, oh, somebody created this world, and it's just some experiment for them.
Uh-huh.
And they're just look at these idiots going by, and it seems like thousands of years for us, but it could be the length of a movie for them, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's the possibility.
Yeah, how
In
do you
that
know it's
case,
not?
it could be computer simulations, and we could be living in that. But I don't know. I mean, when you go into what we have produced to be a computer, is it saying that we're just reproducing what is ultimately what we know and controlling us? You know what I mean? In that case, are we just bringing that back around to
Like a fractal?
yeah, because if we're limited by our minds know that, and we're starting to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, that could be a possibility, but these things that we have right here are very different than humans, and I think the learning is very different. It's still all I see it as it's still all limited by the human mind.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And that can go on and remember certain things and learn and do certain things, but that's still because a human is creating it to do so. Even if it takes off in its own path, it's still human.
It's still within the parameters of its file execution.
Well, no, I mean not even that. Of its creator, it's still human made.
Of its program. But our minds work like that too. The actual linear mind of memory, and then basically making decisions based on calculations of which you think will be most or least pleasurable, and whether your idea of most pleasurable is limited to the body of what makes me most pleasurable, or whether you have a more expanded view of yourself and you consider more pleasurable to be something that's better for other people. You're still just doing a hack and slash calculation of what is the most pleasurable.
Exactly. That's
thing
why
that I can
that's
do.
why the computer's made that way.
So it's the same thing, and it's how real is our reality?
I think whenever I hear the simulation theory, it always just reads to me as sort of a muted version of God, or how a modern person would try to identify the universe being intelligently designed in the same way that a computer could be human intelligently designed.
If there was a thing called a computer back in, I don't know, say ancient Greece, maybe they would have looked at the computer as a god, and their gods would have been designed as a computer rather than a human, because they looked at humans, right? Or mythical creatures, they designed them as what they knew. right? And all these things. So it could have been a computer, but computer didn't exist at that time for them. They didn't see that in that way.
Another interesting element to this kind of conversation could be that, I mean, now, especially with things like Instagram and Facebook and stuff, the predictive, we have no conception really of like the extent of technology in terms of like the predictive ability of these computers now. You know, like how much is our sort of global media, like the amalgamation of all of those algorithms acting at once, influencing us, and how much nowadays do we really have dominion over our world compared to how much our will, you know, and that's a free will could be a whole other kind of conversation, but like how much could, you know, like if I go on Instagram, I've been noticing in our last podcast we talked about synchronicity, and like I've been noticing in my life that like certain artistic decisions that I try to make are kind of lining up. Like I'm starting to see them online in like similar types of ways, you know, like it might not be exactly how I made it, but it's like, oh, this is kind of similar to my thing. And I'm like, was Instagram really just like pushing me to make this form of art all along? And like, you know, it kind
Or
of,
you tapped into some kind of cultural trend that's coming around and you saw
Right.
it coming first.
and it's like, what's the difference really,
What's
you
the
know?
difference?
And like
Like, who
nowadays
cares?
it's kind of like, once it's been created, there's kind of, I mean, unless it's destroyed and we can like rebuild, but like this ball is rolling and we can't really discern anymore the difference between what we're being like pushed to do, or if we're even pushed implies that there's like a pusher, but you know it's
And
kind
that
of
there's
just like
a
this
pushy.
perpetual motion machine that's happening all around us all the
Yeah.
time now.
I mean, the teachings would say like the Eastern teachings would say like there is no, like the pusher and the pushy are one.
Right,
They would
because it's
say like your reality is not real,
Well,
and it is all.
yeah.
because how much is culture the same thing as an algorithm on Instagram? You know, it's kind
And where does Instagram end and culture begin, and where do you
See,
end
but
and your
then
culture begin?
like my thing is like also, I mean, it's just like anything really, but like, would this technology be here if humans didn't create it? Would it have just appeared in another way?
I think when I think
Go
about
ahead.
the subject of algorithms, I would say that rather than like, I mean, we've created a sort of material processor, but like the ideas that computers have, or like like its dominion over our world, is kind of something that was there to begin with, and it's just been harnessed or like refined into like a more quicker, sort of enhanced way. You know what I mean? Like it still relies on our ability to like communicate with each other in whatever, not just language, but like in whatever way that humans communicate or whatever way information flows. Like that was all there to begin with, you know, in computers.
Right,
just
but
kind
then,
of
but going back to the question of living in a computer simulation, that doesn't mean that we live in a computer simulation.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
saying, like, I'm going back to the question of like,
You're
well,
saying-
if humans didn't create computers, if humans didn't create like Doritos, if humans didn't create plastic, would it have appeared?
Somehow, like
Somehow,
through
would
some
these
sort of-
minerals have just come together?
Was
in
this
Earth
bound to
and
happen anyway?
Was it bound to happen? Like,
That's
as
a
far as I
hypothetical.
know, I say no.
Yeah, but-
right. So then, like as far as I can say right now, I say no. And until something.
But that's like a
shows me
hypothetical where
different.
it's like what is that? What is a
But
world
it's not
without
a
humans?
hypothetical.
Like what does a
because
world
it's not
without humans even look
hypothetical.
like?
It's not hypothetical because there was a time when there was no computers. So if humans there's a time when none of this stuff existed. So it's not hypothetical. Like it happened. Then like everything's hypothetical
But
at
like
that point.
computers, you're saying like would computers have ultimately been invented no matter what, or something like that?
Like yeah, like if humans didn't invent them, would some other species have come along and invented them? Would somehow something would have happened where they came along anyway?
Or like if you believe in some sort of social evolution, like are computers kind of, or some form of a computer like an always necessary step? Like if
is
there was a
that-
more
yeah.
advanced civilization,
like,
will
'cause
they have made
if
a
people
computer?
think that they're gonna come and take over, like AI is gonna take over, like was that just inevitable? Like if it didn't happen now, it was gonna happen anyway. Like to me, then that would make it seem like more like we were living in a computer simulation.
I
If
see
it's
what you
just like a man-made thing, like we could eliminate we could, if we all chose to, we could eliminate, like, just stop using technology now.
So
And we could stop using, like, making plastic now. We could
when you
stop
say
doing
when you
these
say
things
it
now.
like that, and like with the hypothetical, and like if men didn't make computers, would they still come up? Like, are you not putting man separate from nature when you do that? Like would man have shown up no matter what? Like, what was humans showing up just an inevitable part of the course of nature,
so,
and then
like,
computers as a result?
Is that a continued
Yeah.
evolution of
Like,
man?
is
of,
there
like,
is there
yeah,
a point at which you can separate? And it's
Yeah.
like, no, like
Right.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, is there any way to know that your reality is more real than like a simulated reality? It's like, what's the difference, dude?
Right. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
But it's like, where do you, like, he asks, what is physical reality's relation to the seeming virtual reality of
It's
technology?
your relative perception of it being true. It's
Yeah.
just like relative.
That's what I'm saying.
There
Like,
is,
so for
yeah.
me, like, right now, like, I don't want to believe that thing that, like, I'm having issues now with, like, man-made stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like, to me, that's not nature. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
But that's
So, like,
that's still a concept you're
no, so that's
superimposing onto
my
it, though.
so that's
Uh-huh.
my concept. That's why I'm saying for
Uh-huh.
right now, for me, I
Yeah.
say no.
Yeah.
Because
uh-huh.
I don't want that.
That's a
And-
personal
And
concept.
that's me. So, like,
Uh-huh.
I don't want that. I don't want to believe that, because I think technology is doing a lot of good, and I think it's doing a lot of bad. I think
Mhm.
it's actually all we're doing is technology created problems, and we're just creating new technology to try to fix those problems that technology created.
Mhm.
And it's just like this big cycle that's getting worse and worse and worse. So,
Uh-huh.
like, I think we could actually do a lot better if we just like got rid of a lot of it,
Mhm.
and got rid of a lot of the bullshit, money hungry, power hungry,
Mhm.
ego stuff that's going on in the world.
Mhm.
So, like that's me right now. Like, somebody, like, the other day I was having a conversation with somebody talking about like, animals, and it's like saying that humans are better than animals.
Mhm.
And, like, that really pissed me off.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, who are you to say that we're better than animals? Why?
Uh-huh.
Why are we better than animals? Why would I, like, if a dog bit a human, why would I be so mad at that dog? Do I know the situation as to what's going on? What if the human bit the dog? I'd be just as mad as that human.
So-
like, what's this?
So what if like a particular animal species like starts doing something like for its habitat or for like its shelter that just like destroys the ecosystem around it in your perception? Like, is that species then acting outside of nature itself, or are they still part of that? Like, would you feel the same way towards them as you feel towards humans making computers that's causing issues?
You'd have to see how they, like, time, like,
I mean, it might be destructive from some perspectives, and it might be
Yeah.
constructive from other
kind
perspectives.
Like a forest
time,
fire
yeah,
builds
time
thing.
would
Yeah.
kind of have to tell. Like, I mean,
Tell what'll
in the
happen.
blip of time,
Mhm.
like, this technology is like a millisecond,
Uh-huh.
right? Like, there's very little as to what's going into it, so we don't know. It's a blip of time, but potentially, yeah.
That
I
raises
mean,
an interesting question, because, like, when you had said that thing about humans and animals, like, the thought that came into my head, and I guess this was a thought that I had for up until a couple of seconds ago, but, like, I had thought that, like, maybe humans are, like, the thing that separates humans from animals is that we can kind of, like, empathize with the entirety of the animal kingdom, and thus kind of, like, we are, like, the stewards of the land, and, like, we can sort of police what is happening between the ecosystem because we are capable of understanding it. But, like, is that even true? Like, is us, like let's say, like, there's some birds will, like, overpopulate an area, and so most of the times it's humans' fault that this kind of stuff is happening, or, like, pigs are overpopulating, like, New Zealand or something like that because humans brought them over. But, like, some animals doing something like that, let's just say in a natural situation, and, like, they, like, will ramp up hunting, and, like, you can go and hunt and, like, kind of exterminate, and it's like, do we really know what we're doing?
So
when
here,
we do that?
here's my issue with that. I was thinking about this the other day. I listened to a lot of podcasts. There was a podcast. David Chang had a hunter on, and they were talking about hunting, and they're talking about, like, yeah, we need population control. But why do we need population control? So humans can live in their homes that they created and be happy and not have the animals running free where they live. Population control is only for humans' ability to live and enjoy whatever they want to enjoy. It has nothing to do with the animals. Like, okay, so food, it would be, so the argument then is they don't have enough food to feed themselves and they end up dying anyway. But it's like, why don't they have enough food? Often because of humans. And we're not letting them go where they need to go to get the food. And we're destroying their land where they get the food to build our homes and create this man-made stuff that takes its place that they can't feed off of. So it's like, it's this...
Can we go backwards though? Like, you know, can humans now, like I you know, there's definitely, there's tons of things that we do that are messed up that we shouldn't do. And like, no matter what timeline we're living on, but to a certain degree, like, is there something inherent in the human condition that like we are engaged in, you know, like from maybe an evolutionary perspective, we are engaged in like the effort to preserve and advance the interests of our own species. So like, you know, if a bunch of lions start coming into the area, like, we're going to get rid of those lions because we want to live.
Well, because they're going to
like,
threaten our ability to live. But
right.
yeah, I think we can go back, and I think that there's a big effort to do that now, to change the way that we're producing things, and hopefully it keeps going that way, so that we do live more harmonious with nature and not create this stuff that, like, all the plastic that's ever been created is still around, like, ever. Because it takes 450 years to decompose.
Yeah, that's wild.
So it's all around because it hasn't been made that long.
Yeah, and that did not need to be made.
No, and it doesn't need to be made. It's just for ease of stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, but if you leave plastic, if we just left this house for a year, you're going to see nature start to take it back over and destroy it and break it down. Like, we can absolutely reverse it. Like, the earth, I believe that the earth will destroy us before we destroy the earth, unless we somehow blow it up. Like, the earth will get rid of us first. They'll find a way to do that. It'll find a way to do that, and then it will regenerate and come back. I mean, just like it has billions of years, until something comes and literally, like, something external maybe destroys it, or it decides to destroy itself. But I think, yeah, like, if we make the choice to stop consuming certain things and making certain things and doing whatever, like, that's destroying the earth and making it harder for everything around us. And then, yeah, we can stop bringing certain animals to certain places. I mean, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that if they can survive and do whatever. But it's just like saying that something's overpopulated because we don't want them there, or because there's not enough food because we took their food away. Like, I think that's messed up, because that's putting us above everyone, and I don't think we're above anyone. And, like, I don't ever think I felt this way until I had a dog, and like, I have that relationship with a dog, and like, he feels shit so hard, and like, he cares about stuff so much. He might not understand it to the level that we do, and he doesn't have the abilities to do the things that he wants to do. You think he doesn't want to like run outside and like just run free and like tell someone hi and come back? He absolutely does, but we don't let him. You know. So I don't know what he would be like if he was just able to run free and like actually get his own food the way that he could, and not like we made it a way that he can't survive without us.
That's tragic, man.
Yeah.
But so, on the subject of like AI and evolution and stuff.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, like you know, even more than just our, like, let's say that animals were like destroying our environment or something like that. Like, we don't really have a full conception of the way that environment might repair itself for like the betterment of the earth, or the way the earth might want to repair itself. And kind of connecting back to the original like question, it's just, yeah, it doesn't really matter, because if we are in some way simulated, then like that ball is already rolling, and we're just
when I hear that question, I just think like, just go deeper into your own reality. Like, you just got to go deeper. If you're asking those types of questions, like, you can only hang on them so long. Like, you got to go deeper.
Yeah, and if you're worried about technology, then it's just like anything else. It's the way that you're interacting with that technology. So if that's that's not his question, but if someone is worried about that, then think about the way that you're interacting with technology. Take yourself away from it. You can always take yourself away
I've done it.
from it. Yes, you have.
Yes, you have.
It's been a struggle getting them back.